Hey guys, it is Tristan with Nerdets Newsstand, and I want to talk about something I actually seen the other day. Now, the other day I was watching a video by Comics by Perch, friend of the channel, absolutely nothing against him, and he was asking the question, do heroes in your comic books need to be relatable? And of course it is complicated, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, but largely his answer was no. And in the nicest way possible. I've never heard him be so fundamentally wrong when it comes to storytelling. Of course, characters need to be relatable, because if not, of course, there's a difference between likability and relatability. But if you do not relate to a character on some fundamental level, it is likely you will not like that character. We see this all the time in comics. Now, I'm not talking about big scale things. You don't need to relate to getting a actual $1 million inheritance. You don't need to relate to those kind of things. What you need to relate to are certain character traits. Now, there is a bunch of character traits that are either positive or negative, and we all have them at some point. There are character traits like being an integral person, having courage, being assertive, maybe, being empathetic and honest. Those are things you need to be able to relate to. And it also, of course, adds to likability. But there are certain character traits that are really, really good. Being brave, being logical, being rational. And then on the same time, you need to relate to the negative aspect of it too, being maybe jealous, being maybe unpleasant at time or grumpy, being maybe a little aggressive or egocentric. Those things people can also relate to, even if they are not positive. Does not always have to be positive. But character traits are basically the building blocks of a character's personality. Positive traits like trust, admiration, those kind of things you are liked and accepted by the people reading you and by the people in the comic book around you. These things have to be there. You have to be able to trust the character if that is their main title, whether it's Batman or Superman, any of these things. Motivation, that is also a great character trait that makes people look at them. Now, there are superficial, not exactly the best way to say that, but there are superficial things that you can also relate to. And I think we all do on some scale. I actually did not know I did until I realized that every time I pick a video game or I pick a character in Injustice or I pick a character on Mortal Kombat, they always relatively close look like me, or female at least. Maybe it's a female thing, but generally I gravitate towards characters that look like me. Some of my favorite characters do, but that is not all that is needed. It is not, well, this character looks like me. It is 100%, for sure, I love this character the most. No, that's not always what happens. You have to relate to them on much deeper level than that. They can initially bring you in. You can want to see yourself in that character, but that is not a do-all, tell-all type thing. Now, there are a lot of ways to make your characters or make characters in comic books more relatable. And I think the biggest one that gets, unfortunately, not used as much when it comes to female characters or characters that are minorities is giving them a flaw. I think there is a lot of times those characters are put up on that pedestal and people don't like that. People don't like that at all. They want them to have that flaw. They want to see struggle, and they want to see that character make really hard choices that maybe are similar to what they've made in their life. They want that deep connection with a character, not just this character is the best, right? So another thing when it comes to all of that is being able to relate to their suffering, right? If you can relate to how that person feels, if you can empathize with them, if you can empathize with a character, it's likely you're going to return to read them again because you're going to want to know the conclusion of that story. Now, there are certain things within comics, obviously, none of us can relate to. We cannot relate to The Fourth World by Jack Kirby. We just can't. We cannot relate to big galactic cosmic events. But on a very human level, you absolutely need character relatability. People will not come back if this character is necessarily perfect. And I think they do a good job of kind of masking that with Superman, because there are obviously character traits you can relate to, but character traits aren't going to be as there's going to be no struggle, right? He's basically so OP that you're not going to see that struggle necessarily. So by making him inspirational, you can jump that struggle. You can jump that and actually see him struggle maybe in different ways, whether it's with Lois or whether it's, in his personal mind. But making him inspirational, making him be that character that maybe you're not supposed to relate to as much, but he's supposed to inspire you, is a way in a fair balance for that type of character. So I don't know. I find it very weird that people don't, or that in general, we don't see that. Yeah, absolutely. We need relatable characters. Yeah, absolutely. We need to be able to relate to them through allegory, through character traits, through different things. Not every single character is going to be like you or is going to be perfectly heroic or perfectly courageous. Not every single character is going to be hopeful and optimistic, but there are characters. Take characters like Jessica Cruz. I've mentioned this before with her anxiety. It is something that I thought was really cool because obviously willpower, but I thought it was really awesome simply because it was something I personally felt on a daily basis, that anxiety, right? So I really liked that. It really made me want to come back and see her overcome it, or possibly give into it. Maybe go get a green or yellow lantern ring. Yeah, we're not seeing that totally happen or anything, but it was something that I could look at. Now, of course, I still want these idealized version of characters, but you should absolutely be able to relate to the character. And look at something like villains. We've seen villains change quite a bit from years ago. Before, obviously, we were looking at Captain America punching Nazis, right? It was the embodiment of evil. Now we're seeing villains that are more on the side of relatable. Look at a character like Mr. Freeze. You can relate to that love relationship and that yearn for saving the one you love. These characters and villains and heroes have changed. We saw the rise of the anti-hero. We saw, a change from, it was, Russian Soviet spies in every single story to a story more along the lines of with nuance to understanding maybe why Killmonger or some of the other characters that were evil but had good intentions. They have the intentions that you wish for, whichever story you mean, but the way they go about them is wrong. We recently saw this with Icicle and Brainwave and Stargirl Season 1. They wanted to create a society with free healthcare and equality for all and no bullying and But the way you can't exactly, mind control everybody in order to achieve that. You just can't. So the way we see villains, the way we see heroes or anti-heroes has changed to be more relatable, to understand that struggle. So yeah, in the nicest way possible, Perch, you could not be more wrong. Anyways, let me know, of course, what you guys think about this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.